Hey everybody, welcome to the first edition of Flying High for Madden 22. Um, your hosts today are myself, DMuse13, the Vikings, and QP, the Lions. How you doing, QP?
Yo, what's up? Good to be back. Ready to hopefully have a good show.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep some people entertained, give the NFC some much needed attention, especially given the way that the team draft has shook out this year. That AFC is going to be the Wild West. But anyway, um, I think our opening topic today is going to be just generic thoughts on the game so far, Madden 22, how it plays, what we've seen. What are your opinions so far? What have you experienced?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think that the biggest improvement, of course, is the running. Yeah, I know a lot of people are still able to have success running, but it feels like I think Matt said it one time on his show that it feels like when you get that 15 or 20-yard run, you really do feel like, that's a good run and you feel a lot more accomplished. Back then, last Madden or the Madden before that, you run a 20-yarder and it's expected, and that's just double what you average your yards per carry per season. So I like that the running game, and then I think the passing it feels a little bit more pass friendly than it used to be. I feel like the zones used to be a little bit harder to pass on, and maybe with the patches, we'll feel that a little bit more as well as we continue the season. But I feel like it's a little bit more pass friendly so far, which I of course appreciate because I'm a pass first guy.
Yeah, I honestly haven't played as much as I probably should have. I think I played two scrimmage games against DW before the league started, and that was the extent of my Madden 22 experience prior to the start of the SML. So, right out of the gate, I was struggling a little bit. The defense has definitely changed, the movement's changed, the speed of the game has changed. Um, week one, I was able to run the ball pretty effectively, and then week two, I got completely shut down by Dump. But my passing game succeeded in week two, which it did not do in week one. So I'm definitely still adjusting. I think the deep zones are hilariously bad. They are adding a
Yeah.
lot of explosive plays, but every game I watch, people can just send streaks, and if you just send them enough, like you're gonna get plenty of wide open deep balls that guys really have no control about stopping. I know I was
Yep.
guessing over the top, and I was still getting burned over the top consistently. And my team doesn't have top level speed or anything in the secondary, so it's not something that I was completely thrown off by. But I've seen it in a lot of games where I tune into the streams. Um, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's broken, or do you like that there are going to be more big plays, more explosive plays, and people aren't going to be spamming their running backs?
Yeah, if I what I hope that they do patch it a little bit at least because, like you said, you don't want to get. There's nothing you can do about it. It's already hard enough to control what the other 10 guys are going to do on the field for you defensively. So you don't want to have the fear of a streak every play, and then you will play those guys that don't mind calling streaks every single time, and all they have to do is just hot rat it. So it could be designed as a different play, but just hot rat a streak, and there's a lot of people that don't mind doing that and playing that way if it's like if it doesn't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. So hopefully it does get fixed because I do agree as well. It just makes it pretty hard to defend. You already got to cover 10 yards and underneath you already as a user. Um, so yeah, it's bad. I haven't had that problem that you have had to say because I played maybe the different opponents that I played. I mean, Lawyer did pretty good on me, but I've been able to take the ball away in the air so far. So we'll see as I continue to go and I play, maybe a little bit better quarterbacks.
Hopefully that trend doesn't continue. I think I play you next week, but
Oh no.
yeah, I mean, Dump threw all over me. I mean, Kyler was just rolling out, chucking the ball deep. It was working every time. I didn't really have an answer for it,
Mm,
and hopefully I can adjust as we go through. But you also mentioned usering. That's another thing that I've noticed might be slightly more difficult this year. I was actually able to get a user pick week one, but just due to the speed of the game, I feel like usering a linebacker won't necessarily shut down a whole section of the field like it has been able to in Madden in the
yeah.
past. So that on top of the deep zones are really something to look forward to. But I don't know. I every year Madden comes out and there's a lot to complain about, and eventually you just figure it out and learn the tendencies. So hopefully that's the case this year.
Yeah.
So, piggybacking off of every year Madden comes out, we're in season one. Season one just started in the SML. Um, what's the best way that you to handle your team in year one, knowing that we're going to go for probably about 8 years? Like, what do you think is the most important? What are the most important things to accomplish in year one?
I would say if you have already a 31, 32-year-old player in a position that's important, and you have maybe a rookie that's a lot worse by 14 overall points or something like that, I think that it's important to maybe just plug in that rookie anyways, or plug in that young guy anyways, and start deving them up. Because at the worst, then they'll be your backups when you do find better players in the offseason, whether through the draft, trade, or free agency. So I would say that playing the young guys early on, especially like I said, if you have a veteran guy in a position that you're already gonna probably want to replace him with anyways, because you don't want to not get better as the seasons continue. Everybody knows by season fours and fives, the super teams are created with players' ability to dev their own players up and dev their teams up. So I'd say deving up the young guys first, and obviously trying to win if you have that chance, if your team is in a win now mode, trying to win, because obviously the more wins you get, the better development your guys get. So it's kind of hard to tank while getting your guys better, and it's hard to obviously be put in that position if you are a team like the Lions who have draft picks and I'm 2-0, so that kind of sucks.
Oh, boo-hoo, you're 2-0. But yeah, I agree. I think everyone approaches that a little bit different. Like, I'll still play veterans early on and throughout the cycle if I think that they're a significant upgrade. A lot of the times I can disagree with some of the decisions to play younger players just because if the younger player just isn't that good or I don't really think they're developable, I'd rather just play the veteran and have a better
Yeah.
product on the field. Or in year one especially, and I'm dealing with this quite a bit on the Vikings, like Harrison Smith and Eric Kendricks, they're superstar players, so I'm not going to pull them out. They have abilities, they're good. But they're also under contract for quite a while under pretty high salaries. So I'm not really eager to get them off the field. I want them to regress as slowly as possible and really just need to. They're going to be a part of my team for the next couple of years just due to the salary cap realities of it. So I'm definitely going to play them. But I agree. Like, I decided to go Kellen Mond at quarterback. You see a lot of guys go younger at quarterback early on. I know Matt starting Dwayne
Mhm.
Haskins over Ben Roethlisberger, even though Dwayne Haskins sucks. But it's something you see a lot. It is important to get the young guys developed, because you can only develop so many guys a year. I mean, obviously you have unlimited number of focus players, and in this Madden, one of the cool features that I like is you can have more than three of those focus players. But it's important to beef up those positions so you can put yourself in a win now situation down the road, either by taking best player available in the draft or hitting big in free agency. So any holes that you could fill or find a respectable player to be there for 5 or so years, it's really important to do that early on, because if you're not developing early, your team's just going to age while everyone else's team gets better.
Yeah.
And I think drafting's really important. If you waste the first couple drafts, you're going to have a really hard time in years 5 or 6. So you need to go in with a plan and make sure you're drafting guys that you can develop. Like I said earlier, not young guys that are undevelopable, but guys who have some traits that'll allow them to make your team better and contribute right away and for many years to come. Are there any like contract situations that you try to avoid early on? Like if you have like a 27 or 28-year-old veteran looking for a big contract, or even older than that, how do you suggest, like, how are you planning to handle that moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's best to not get caught up in if because like the guy if you're mentioning more like the 28, 29-year-olds or 20 even 27-year-olds that are, 75, 74 overalls, you're going to get caught up into a 3 or 4 year $12 million minimum type deal, and you don't want to even be paying one of those guys once they hit 30 that are never going to again. You're going to find replacements. It's always how it goes, and I've learned that the hard way a lot of the time. I feel personally, I'll sign a 27 or 28-year-old guy early on to a contract, a 4-year contract, and then next thing I know, he's 30, 31 years old, and I'm tied into a $9.5 million deal or $10 million deal that really does play a part in, your younger guys' contract years coming up as the future continues. Because obviously everybody wants to keep their young guys around, and I just think just let those guys walk away and just find the replacements in the draft. You can find fourth round, fifth round guy that's around the 70, 72 overall, and he could play, backup positions to what you need to fill the gap type of positions instead of getting caught up into, larger contracts that you don't need. You want to use that money to pay the big guys.
No, I definitely agree, and it also depends sort of how your team's positioned. If you're in a win now scenario,
Yeah.
then yeah, sign those veterans. If you're not, then
Yeah.
let them go. Let one of those win now teams sign them and use their cap space and save your cap space and try to make a big decision, or hopefully you're able to develop your guys and force yourself into signing some big contracts.
Yeah, I would definitely say that as far as the contract signings go, be at your discretion. If you got an Allen Robinson who's 28, 29, and he's coming up, I would probably sign him. He's a superstar. He's in the 88 overall or whatever he is. I'm talking more so the guys that are around the 76 overall range, where you want them to be, you sign them because you might need them to start. Who knows how the offseason will go, or who knows how you'll do, or you might need them as a backup. So you'd rather, me personally, again, those are the guys I'm talking about that I'd rather just take the rookie contract deals on, or the young guys you can get for cheap in the free agency. Don't let the superstars go.
No, definitely, especially early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we spoke a little bit about the draft. I just want to get your thoughts on EA not releasing that scouting update ever. That kind of sucks. We're stuck with the same scouting that we've been working through. Any quick thoughts there?
Yeah, I didn't put. I mean, I know a lot of people were really excited about it. Me, I'm a simple guy. I'll just hit the little X on each attribute thing until they give me what the projection is, and then I make my decisions in the 40-yard dash strength, things like that, in the off as you get deeper into the off season. So I didn't really. I don't mind it as much. I would rather have hold it out. Like maybe if there was a different patch that we needed, absolutely. I personally don't think the scouting is, it makes it so much worse if we don't get the advanced version. I don't know what it'll look like, so we'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely wasn't worth going on any longer waiting, but
Yeah,
it would have been a nice switch up. But there are enough of those with
for
the
sure.
new training and everything like that.
Okay.
All right, so we talked through some of the early cycle things and generic Madden 22 tips. What's happened early on in the cycle in the SML that you want to talk through? I mean, there are a couple things going on between some performances we've seen and some transactions. So
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the DW trade. I think it's going to keep getting talked about as we continue the cycle, as one of the worst trades or whatever the conversation will be, or the hot topic of discussion will be. But I think it's more Dan being 0-3. He's the Chargers. And the way he's losing, he's not really putting up a lot of points. And then the games that he scores 3 or 4 touchdowns, he's given up 5 or 6 touchdowns. And you got an explosive offense and a pretty explosive defense. So I would say that's one of the most shocking things so far. Him being 0-3, you don't expect it. Obviously, he's been the juggernaut, since I've joined, and probably obviously a long time before that, I should say. So him being 0-3 is probably the biggest for me so far, I would have to say. Maybe Tiny or NYT starting out hot too. He's beating guys. He's one of the guys that beat Dan, but I think he has a couple other wins that are pretty impressive so far.
no, I agree with you on NYT, and I also don't want to beat up DW anymore. If you like guys, I recommend going to get them. It makes the game more fun. But yeah,
Yeah,
Dan, that was gonna be mine as well. I mean, 0-3, I would have never guessed that. He was such a dominant force last cycle. He's 28th in points per game right now. He's only averaging 18 points a game through 3 games. And like you said, there's a lot of weapons on that offense. You have Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Like there are definitely pieces to make you good. He is
yeah.
averaging 7 yards a carry with Austin Eckler, which if you would have told me that through 3 games, you would have never guessed that he was going to begin 0-3. But here we are. Keenan Allen is his fifth leading receiver. So,
You hate to see it. It just hurts my ears.
yeah, I'm sorry. Um, but no, that's definitely shocking. I'm gonna throw you on there. 2-0 as the Lions is always impressive. Um, but there's not a lot of. I'm not gonna take a lot from the first 2 weeks of the cycle. Just
Yeah.
I
Same.
guys are adjusting to the games. You don't know the strength of their opponents yet. You don't know how guys are adjusting to Madden 22 and their new teams. So it's going to be something interesting to monitor. But definitely going forward, there were some pretty big trades, a pretty active trade market prior to season one. Obviously, the big DW trade, and I know I made a couple trades. We just had Deontay Johnson get traded for J.C. Jackson. So
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, so that's something. Um, so that was cool to see guys being aggressive, trying to improve their teams right away in the best way that they can. So I don't know. Bomber's going to be scary with all this draft capital and that loaded Cleveland roster.
Yeah.
Um, so that's going to be something to behold. But that's all that I really had today. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, it's we want to make it, short and sweet and give something a little bit different, maybe a little touch on a little different topics from the other shows that we're going to have. And hopefully, like we said, we can keep this going a little more than, 2 to 3 episodes. And hopefully everybody does enjoy, what we had to offer.
Yeah, definitely. Got a new microphone. Hopefully everyone can hear me better. I'm able to record on one device instead of two separate ones, so that's going to save me a lot of headache. But yeah, hopefully we can cover some different topics, even though Watch First and Goal is going to drop and it's going to be all the same stuff. And we're going to be like, oh no. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you to everyone who's listened. We appreciate it. We Any feedback you have, feel free to give it. And if you're interested in coming on the show sometime, please reach out to Q or myself. So thank you, everyone, except for Clink. I will never forgive you for taking the Saints. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.